This drawing is from probably 1976. It is done by a costume designer named John Mallow, and you probably will recognize it as uh, costume drawings for the original Star Wars. And I think this is an utterly fascinating drawing. Uh, it's interesting, these drawings look like they were drawn from a Ralph McQuarrie sketch, but that's for another time. We'll talk about it later. But anyway, um, are they crude drawings? Yes, they are. Are they cool designs? Yes, they are. Of course, everybody, if you're listening to this, you probably love Star Wars. We're all geeks here, right? So, I think that this drawing brings up a really important point in the conceptual design arena, and that is what function, how important is drawing facility and art and illustration skill, because it takes years and years and years to learn how to draw and paint well. And if you're a designer, if you design things for games, a concept designer, I mean, that's probably what most of the people who are listening to this video are. How important is it? If you were to put this drawing on the wall, most of the concept artists I know would hang their head in shame. And people often mix up, and I guess it's understandable, the quality of the artwork with the quality of the thought put into it. But think of all the time that you are spending and money and on this masterclass and others like it, learning how to draw and paint like an old master, or like just draw and paint really, really well. It's very time consuming. Is there a better way of spending your time if you really are a designer? I mean, if you want to be an illustrator, that's great. I like illustration probably as much as design. And so, I mean, the problem that I'm outlining here, I'm the main offender. But the time that you spend learning how to draw and paint, could it possibly be spent in a better way at a liberal arts education, learning about how the world goes together? Because in order to design something, you need to know how this world goes together and how it works much in as great a detail and as great a subtlety as you can manage, and that takes a lot of time too. And in the end, I think you'll be a better designer. You'll make better designs, come up with different. You'll be able to sell your idea better because you'll be richer and deeper because you have a better understanding of how things work. Let me show a quick example. This is an example I've used several times, but say, for instance, you're doing a design for an alien world, and just a street. If you look at how a street here is designed, generally you have a sidewalk level, and the sidewalk is poured. The sidewalk, these are preformed, possibly. Depending on the climate that the sidewalk is in, the expansion joints might be closer together or farther apart. How the trowel works to make finished seams here. When you get to a driveway or an access point, this is usually a different kind of concrete than this. This is usually, and it visually looks different. And this might be a poured form here, and then this type of forms happen over there, continuing again. Now, the road itself might be anything from asphalt to concrete. It might have, it definitely has a crown to it. I don't know how many times I've seen drawings and paintings of roads or buildings in an environment, in an imaginary place where, well, if it rains, drainage has to be considered. Crown on roads, it's something you see on every single road, but I see a lot of paintings and drawings that do not really show that. I think it lacks credibility because that detail of their function was either ignored or the artist wasn't aware of it. So as we go here, maybe there's a wall. The wall could be, say, brick, and there's probably a lot of stuff in that corner where things are definitely a different texture and feeling happening at the corners of these things because it's subject to different weathering, might get hotter, might be wetter, so bacteria grows faster in here and is discoloring the stuff in here. Up top there might be a concrete cap up on top of this brick wall. What goes on behind here? There might be landscaping back there, so there's dirt, and of course figure out exactly what kind of plants are back here and what their scale is. And what the private building, what its driveway is paved, should be a very different feeling than what the street is paved as. So just in this one little area, we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different materials, and the scale of them, how wide a sidewalk is in relation to how wide a street is, how wide a lane is based on how big a car is. So I'm talking about looking and learning about the complexities and why things are the way they are. You know, I'm sure that the width of this road and the width of tires goes back to Roman chariots. But knowing that everything is designed to work together, if you know that, and then you go to design something that is unreal or hasn't been real, it kind of gives you a respect for the complexity of what you're trying to design, and to think through the problems of its function and how it was designed and what purpose it had, and respecting that complexity and working through all those problems, your designs of unreal things will have a great deal more credibility. So that's why I brought up Malo. Is, do you spend all your time worrying about technique, or do you worry about the engineering of streets? Or in this case, if you're a costume designer, learning about the history of costumes, how patterns are made, how you take a two-dimensional piece of cloth and make patterns in different panels and then sew them together so that they go nicely over compound forms. Now of course, there is a lot of overlap that I think a good artist is aware of all these things, and it makes them a better artist. And Sargent said that he just painted the appearances of things. I think he was either being tongue-in-cheek or sarcastic, possibly, because clearly he knew anatomy very, very well, and he was a curious person too. So if you work out of your head, you really do need to understand and learn as much about the objects that you're trying to concoct as you possibly can, because you can't rely on painting from a photograph and simply copying light and dark shapes. Say for instance what I was talking about, where these two forms come together. Yeah, there's going to be some ambient occlusion there, but there will also be, as I say, probably less air circulation gets into this corner, so there's been a lot more biological attack, mosses, possibly fungal attacks like you'd see on a shingle roof, darkening this, and there's probably going to be a color shift in there too. So yes, this is getting more light here, but it's getting darker there. So for two reasons, we have a hue shift, because fungus is growing on top of the brick, but also there's ambient occlusion happening. So here we're using an excuse to make a difference, and I'll talk more about that later. So it really is a question that you have to answer for yourself, and I'm sure there is a balance. Probably if in today's commercial world in games and films, if you were to present these drawings, you'd probably get fired, no matter how wonderful the designs might be. So probably something in the middle would be a good idea.